I first encountered this dish in Italy over 30 years ago. In the days before supermarkets, Calabria depended strongly on marinating and canning foods in order to survive. If you're Italian, please remember that every grandmother in Italy has her own ideas about traditional foods, and the only thing that really matters in the end is the taste. I'm pickling regular-sized tomatoes that can be peeled in this recipe instead of the traditional cherry tomatoes, because this was created for restaurants, and restaurant patrons generally don't like wadded-up tomato skins in their pasta. You will agree this is delicioso.
Okay, I've got the salt, marjoram, bay leaf, red chili peppers. I got the tomatoes in a jar, and I've put just enough water over them so that it covers them. This way you know how much water you're going to need. And we've got the red wine vinegar, of course. Now we're going to start cooking the oil into a pan where the red wine vinegar is getting hot. I'm going to add seasonings, chili pepper. Bring this to a boil. Okay, it's been at a simmer for 2 or 3 minutes. Now I'm going to add those strips of orange peel and water from the tomatoes. And I'm going to bring this back up to a simmer. Okay, it's at a simmer, so now I'm going to take this off the heat and pour the contents over the tomatoes. It's up to the top. I'm going to add a clove of crushed garlic. Put the lid on loosely and then let it cool down. But the lid is only on loosely right now. I'll tighten the lid after it cools. Okay, we've got these tomatoes we pickled a few days ago. Lift these out to a plate. I'm going to use 3 of them here in this case. Is it orange? So I'm just going to leave that. After you pull these out, you'll find that the skin on the tomatoes comes off pretty easy, and that's the next step. You want to go around and pull the skin off of all of it. Okay, get the skin out of them. I'm still going to get the stem to deal with, so I'm going to just make a little conical incision, get rid of that, and then I'm just going to cut them up. Leave large pieces. We're not cutting them up into tiny little bits here, like many great Italian recipes. The ingredients here are quite simple. We've got some finely chopped onion. We've got the tomatoes that we pickled. We've got some parmesan cheese. We've got the pickling liquid itself, and some herbs and olive oil. And that's all that's going to go into this. We've got the water with the pasta heating on another burner. I'm going to use this Tuscan olive oil, maybe 3 tablespoons, something like that. And once it gets hot, I'm going to start cooking it. Cooking these on a medium-high flame, 6 on 1 to 10. The heat is 6. I'm going to cook these for quite a few minutes. Okay, it's been about 6-7 minutes now. The onions are actually starting to get some color on them. Just now, starting to get some color on them. Now I'm going to add juices in these tomatoes. I've got the heat still at 6 on 1 to 10. And I'm also going to add 3 cloves of garlic. I'm adding these whole. I'm not breaking them up. Italians like to leave them whole, because then that way, if you're eating the dish and they run across a clove of garlic, they can pick it out and they don't have to eat it. And it's just a way so they don't get a whole mouthful of garlic. Now, actually, I'm going to cook this for quite a while. I'm going to come back to it, but this needs to obviously start bubbling up and getting soft. Okay, this is bubbling up. I've got the dry pasta now. I'm going to add this to the water and start that cooking. After a few minutes, you'll see tomatoes get to the point where there's not a pool of liquid anymore. This is when we're going to add marjoram. I like dried marjoram for this. I don't like fresh marjoram in this dish. It's too strong for me. But you know, if you're really in love with marjoram, I guess you can use fresh. And I'm adding 60 milliliters, about 2 ounces of that pickling liquid, the liquid that the tomatoes were pickled in, and gonna reduce this down again, just like I did last time. Get it thick again. Okay, but just check the pasta. It's very al dente now. I'm gonna add it to the sauce. It's still reducing. That was 80 grams of pasta dried weight for 3 of these tomatoes. Keep cooking this a little bit more. Alright, just a couple of minutes later, you can see this is already drying up, and it starts to get to be what Italians would call tight. Now I'm going to add all the Parmesan cheese and stir it around. It's obviously going to be even tighter in a minute. And I'm going to add a little bit of the pasta, the water that the pasta was cooked in. Loosen it up again. And a couple ounces. And you get the right consistency. You finish it off with about a teaspoon of parsley. Yeah, I know, Grandma would have torn it with her fingers, and I made the horrible mistake of chopping it finally with a knife. It's because I'm not Italian. But this is going to be great. What I would like to do is add artichoke hearts with this and make a beautiful presentation. Unfortunately, right now where I'm at, there is not an artichoke heart to be found in the city. And I wanted to make this for you anyway. This is a beautiful dish. I suggest you serve it with some marinated artichoke hearts. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.